Good afternoon. I thought I would start by explaining why I'm standing in front of you now. 3 years ago, I had little to do with the BMA. In fact, the only relationship I had was to pay my annual membership fee. In 2006, I became deeply worried about the MMC changes. I was worried as I had been training in cardiology for several years, but had not yet gained a training number. I was worried essentially that my career was going to be found up by MMC. I became angry, and I decided that I needed to get involved and make my voice heard. 3 years later, I find myself standing in front of you all, having taken the lead for the UK's junior doctors. My involvement with the BMA was stimulated by issues around education and training, and obviously I'm very keen to continue the BMA's involvement with changes to medical education. I sit on the MMC programme board with Johan, my deputy, and I'm also the only junior doctor representative on the NHS Medical Education England board, which, as most of you will know, was set up following the Tucking file into MMC. I think that both of these roles are really vital to junior doctors. This year, we've seen further changes in recruitment to specialty training, and we've been keen to ensure that any changes are evidence-based and piloted rather than rushed in and poorly planned. And I think we've had a degree of success with that. We have concerns about some of the national recruitment schemes, and in particular, we will continue to resist any form of national recruitment exam. My year as chair started with major concerns over the inappropriate use of GP selection tests to recruit physicians, and this is something that we will continue to keep an eye on. Whilst the tests have not been actively scored this year, they will be considered again next year. We also have concerns about routes out of training. In particular, this morning you've discussed a motion on modular credentialing that expresses deep concern that this may result in juniors being moved from training posts to service posts because they have the credentials that the service needs. We have succeeded in lobbying for changes over the past few months, with the emphasis really shifting away from junior doctors. I think it is absolutely vital that the end point of training remains the Certificate of Completion of Training, the CCT. And we demand that the standard of CCT is maintained and that once junior doctors complete training, they have both the competence and, importantly, the confidence to work as consultants. We have continued to resist suggestions from the employers that a sub-consultant grade is desirable within the NHS. We feel that consultants deliver high-quality care to patients. Consultants deliver high-quality training to junior doctors. And most importantly, patients want consultant-based care. I think that we're winning this argument, and I'm quietly optimistic that we will see the fervour for the sub-consultant grade die away, at least for the next couple of years. Another area where we have had success is the issue of dual CCTs in the medical specialties. Many of you will be aware of the problems for those training in medical specialties who found that an anomaly meant they would no longer be awarded a CCT in general medicine. This is an area that I have personally been involved in negotiations on, and one in which there is now a successful outcome for junior doctors. Conference has spent some time on the European Working Time Directive this morning, and we certainly appreciate the strength of feeling that's been expressed today. There are clearly major concerns about the impact of the EWTD on training, and we have been expressing these concerns for several years. We have now had 11 years to prepare for the implementation of the 48-hour week, and it is concerning that many employers don't appear to have addressed the concerns that have been expressed around training. I have concerns personally. I'm a cardiology registrar. A lot of my training is around performing practical procedures, and I really worry about the amount of time that I get in the cath lab to learn these procedures. It's vital that patient safety is not affected over the August changeover, and I believe strongly that doctors in the NHS are professionals and will work to ensure that high-quality patient care continues despite changes in working time legislation. Employers need to realise that it may be necessary to change the amount of elective care that is provided around the August changeover, and we may need to see decreases in the number of elective You have heard of the latest developments both in Europe and in the UK Parliament this morning. Essentially, there will be no change to the legislation for the next 3 months. We're stuck with the way things are. Whilst there are concerns in Parliament, none of the 3 main political parties have any plans to change the legislation. With decreases in working hours, training quality is of vital importance to junior doctors. I think juniors must stand up for training. Juniors need to genuinely take the lead when it comes to stating what training they need, and also take the lead in highlighting when our training is not good enough. We've seen many problems, including the erosion of training lists, the loss of time to learn practical procedures, and the increasing demands of the service. I think it is vital that we continue to work for realistic solutions. We've published our report on maximising training in the craft specialties, which is included in your delegate packs. And we're calling for the provision of training lists, we're calling for senior trainees to be non-resident whenever possible, and we're calling for the provision of dedicated trainers within hospitals. One of the most important solutions is focused consultant expansion, both to deliver service and to deliver training. We will continue to call for improvements in training at every opportunity, and we're currently planning a summit meeting on training quality for the autumn. The BMA has a duty to protect our members whilst maintaining high-quality patient care, and our policy on the EWTD has been guided by these principles. We also need to ensure that any changes to the EWTD we call for don't have a detrimental effect on our plans for potential contract negotiations.